What's up everyone, Spartansteve here, showing you how to siege a castle for beginners in Calradia. At the time of this video, Bannerlord is at early access at 1.1.1. This will show the entire walkthrough on how to start a siege in campaign and the siege itself, plus tips and tricks along the way. Let's begin, you aspiring conquerors. I'm going to do this with a solo army of my own, as you can see here. If you are by yourself, you will get more renown, loot, and the money. You need to be at war with the kingdom to take over the castle you decided to relocate at. You're going to select the castle and select besiege the castle. You're going to be taking a look at a couple options here, which you're going to go over in a moment. We're just going to have that paused, but we're going to take a look at the army here. You can take a look at that before by holding Alt. You can see everything. The garrison is where they're going to have the better units. You can see everything there, that they're going to have higher tier units there. But the militia on the left are complete crap units. You could take them completely out, it's only the garrison that are going to have the better units. They're pretty much peasants with bows and spears. Also, the lower the engineering skill, the slower that this is going to take when you are trying to siege a castle. Mine's at 15, it's absolutely poop. But as you progress, that skill will build up if you put some focus points in there. So the higher the skill, the quicker this will go to build your siege camp, and you cannot attack the gates until your siege camp is completed. So you're going to have a bunch of selections that you're going to have to make here. The 4 selections up front will consist of ballista, a fire ballista, an onager, a fire one, and a trebuchet. This will attack the walls and their catapults. You'll be able to build a siege tower and a battering ram in the back. And you'll be able to do 2 siege towers. Start with the battering ram. So that builds first, and then select the siege towers from there. So at least you know if you have to attack the castle before anything, you'll at least to break the front door down. And with my 15 engineering, this is crawling. A couple of days in-game are going to go by. Up top, you will see the balance of power. Even with my 116 units and they outnumber me almost pretty much 2 to 1, my higher tier units are pretty much going to wreck that militia. It's just a garrison, as I said before, so you may also want to take a look at that to make sure you have the higher tier units before attacking a castle. Here is where things are going to get tricky. As you can see, there is a 105 army to the northwest of me. You're about to take their castle, they're going to try and defend it. So do be aware that a complete gigantic army can show up, just like how this lovely man is showing up. So now there are 300 units about to attack me right now if I stay here, or if I could just break off the siege and run away. But you would need to make a decision if you want to fight that, because they're going to attack you, especially if they outnumber you 3 to 1. And if you're fighting a large kingdom, this is going to happen more than once. So I did succeed in that battle, and now I have 87 units. Their army consisted of recruits, and my army primarily is consisted of cavalry. So I did win that bout, but I did lose a lot of my army. A lot of them are injured, some of them died. The balance of power is still a little halfway there, but if you have a high medicine perk, or if you have a companion that has a high medicine perk that will heal all your units, they will come back relatively quick. As you can see, I just shot up to 90. A huge tip that you could use, because this is going to happen more than once, or could, is that have a high prisoner count. I have more than 50 prisoners, and the longer as time progresses, the prisoners will be able to join your army. So if you have a bunch of those there in reserve, you could build up a nice army again while continuing the siege. As you can see here, the battering ram is done, the siege tower is done, and just to show you quickly what will happen if you do like a couple of ballistas, they'll start to fire, and more than likely will get crushed. The catapults that they built will attack you during the fight, but when you're ready, you're going to click lead the assault. You can send the troops that they will fight without you, but I do recommend leading it. The loading screen might take a little longer for you, but we're just going to pass through that. Now you are here, you will be able to set your troops up. You can set them closer. You could set them closer to the castle, which I do not recommend. You'll be able to see the ballista, the siege tower, and you could set them up how you want. You can scroll up and down, as you can see what I'm doing there, I keep running into the grass. But you can do this, you can set them up manually, but my recommendation would be to auto-deploy them. This will have them go behind the shields where they'll be able to shoot their bows and their crossbows. They will automatically go to the siege ram and the tower, and you don't have to worry about anything. They will take care of all of this for you, so you don't have to set this up, and your tactic skill will still go up, which is pretty cool. The initial siege is going to take some time. This is no more one ladder sieges. They are actually pushing the battering ram and they're pushing the siege tower. So this is going to take a little bit. As you can see, they're all setting up, and their catapults that they set up at the castle there are going to fire at you. Some castles may build ballistas, which I have got shot from and died from. So be aware of that as well. Just get a quick look at the siege tower. You will be the only one starting on your horse, which is pretty cool, so you don't have to run around all slowly if you have a lot of armor on. When you start this, my recommendation, if you like using your ranged weapon, goes kind of like this kind of spot here, and just start picking the guys off. This will make the siege a lot easier for you, and you won't have a large loss of life in your army. There are 3 levels of walls. This is a level 1 wall, so the tower is actually smaller and will actually get larger per wall level. Also, a huge tip, if you come here with an army and you have a high kill count, you yourself, you're more than likely going to have an option to take the castle as yourself if you are under a kingdom. The more kills for you, the better outcome it will be. Just a quick look at the surrounding here. Do not do this, what I'm doing here. But pretty much you'll never come over here. The ladders will automatically be here, so they'll set those up for where the siege tower is not going to be. Battering ram is almost in place, and that was a catapult, I believe, that just did all that. I am not going to skip forward at this point, because I just want to show the full length of the battle. I'm going to show what's going to happen when the battering ram gets through the door, and I'm going to show going up the tower as well. Doing a quick reload there. But as you can see, there will be ladders automatically here, but it will be easier for your opponent to take out your guys with ladders rather than a siege tower. So it will be worth it to at least bring 1 siege tower. And they'll start to do their own thing here. 0 control on their end, which makes it easier for you to start building up your kill counter. Dismount your horse by clicking F. Once when the battering ram breaks through the first door, there will be a second. Just making sure they're going through. Sometimes they may like run away from the door and try and go up the ladders, but you can join to break down the second door. And you can just help out. And once when you break through, you'll be greeted by the lovely inhabitants of the castle you're trying to take over. I know I just easily walked around that, but some sieges that more than likely won't happen. You can go back here and just shoot behind them, but I would take these guys out and just start chopping away at this line. And before I continue, I'm just going to show you the route of the siege tower. Now, I did reload this, so the siege tower is now on the right rather than on the left, just to show you going up from the siege tower up on the wall. When there is a lot of men on defense, you could go into this position here and shoot up, because they're going to try and block the way of your men to go up the siege tower. I don't know what happened at that moment, but they all didn't show up until a little later. Sometimes that can happen and bold in your favor, that you guys can just walk right up here, which would be pretty cool. But there they all are coming. You don't want to get into the middle of that. You kind of want to go on the sides or shoot a bow and arrow. or this will happen. You'll get hit from behind, but sometimes they do run away, which was weird and funny. Your men might start to gravitate towards random positions, so you may want to control them at this point, like how they just left these like 5 guys over here, and they're kind of running towards the higher mass area where your opponent is. So that might be the time where you want to take them over, and occasionally they could get stuck walking up the siege tower. This is an early access game, but they can also shoot bows and arrows into you when you try and break down the door. That would be the second door that I'm referring to. And the higher the wall, they could have a larger area of view where they could start pouring arrows into you. Now this is the same position that I was in before when the battering ram broke down the door and then I chopped down this door. And you just want to chop this line down from behind. So far, with the amount of sieges that I've done with castles and cities, they normally don't turn around except blocking, so you could definitely take advantage of that. And a two-handed axe is just gonna rip right through them. And you'll see on the top on how the bars are just going down that your men are now just doing some cleanup of some stragglers, more than likely some archers. And them using tier 6 weapons, that's why they're doing 150 damage. And then when you succeed, you'll get all the renown, influence, and morale, and you'll see how your troops did there, and what was lost. It may take a little bit to load, and you'll get all these crazy high amount of prisoners, and your well-earned loot. Once it's officially taken, you're gonna piss off the guy that owned the castle, and an election's gonna start, which I will explain in a future video. I hope this video helps you guys out, and even helps out some of the veteran players that have played previous games. Have a great time playing Bannerlord 2.